Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're diving into the story behind Cirrus English, and it's a pretty interesting course, Inglés con Propósito.
Exactly. We've got quite a bit of material presentations, course plans, promotional stuff.
Right. And our goal really is to unpack how this whole thing came about. Understand the origins by looking at the two main people involved.
Teacher Emanoel Ceress and Pastor Agnes Lucas. It's about seeing how their individual stories, their backgrounds, kind of intertwine to create this specific course.
Okay, let's start with Emanoel Ceress. He founded Cirrus English in Recife back in 2014.
And the name Ceress itself is quite evocative, isn't it?
It is. It apparently means sprouting, growing, maturing. You even see that reflected sort of abstractly in their logo.
Like stability, moving forward,
Yeah.
like a fish exploring. It suggests a whole philosophy.
Yeah, philosophy of growth right from the start. And Emmanuel's background,
Hmm.
it's incredibly varied.
It really is. Not just an English teacher.
No. He's an interpreter, teaches at Gran Cursos Online. He's a columnist, involved in international relations work.
And he has specializations in applied linguistics and psychopedagogy.
Which really speaks to understanding how people learn language in real contexts,
Yeah.
not just the grammar rules.
Exactly. It suggests the focus on the practical application, the psychology of learning. His vision seems to be about English as a tool for, well, transformation.
Personal and professional growth. You can imagine how that wide experience shapes his view on language education.
Absolutely. Like interpreting work probably gives you a real sense for nuance, for communication that works beyond just textbook perfection.
Makes sense. So Sarah's English started out small, classes in Engeno do Meio, Recife.
But it saw some pretty significant growth milestones,
Yeah, getting headquarters in Central Recife in 2016, that sounds like a big step. Then launching their online platform in 2022.
which obviously opens things up hugely. And then being selected for Expo Favela Brazil in 2023, that's national recognition.
It shows a real progression, doesn't it? From local roots to a much wider reach.
Definitely. And the online move suggests they're adapting, looking to connect broadly.
And their teaching method reflects that innovative spirit. It's described as very student-centered.
Focusing on communication, right?
Exactly. Using communicative approaches, gamification, both in person and online, which is interesting, and problem-based learning, PBL.
So getting students to actually use the language to solve problems or handle situations.
Precisely. It's about effective communication, using dialogues, simulations, group work, less about just drilling grammar.
That active learning approach with gamification and PBL probably really helps with motivation and building practical skills. It sounds quite different from traditional methods.
And this seems tied directly to their mission and values.
Sure.
Well, the mission is stated as offering exceptional language learning, focusing on quality and student progress, and importantly, regardless of financial circumstances.
That last part is significant. Suggests a commitment beyond just profit.
It does. And their values back that up. Commitment, effectiveness, resilience, entrepreneurship, solidarity, sustainability. It paints a picture of a, quite principled organization.
And Amenol's personal mission aligns with that high-quality education.
Yeah.
Committed to student success. It provides a strong foundation.
Okay, now let's switch gears to the other key figure, Pastor Agnes Lucas. His background is also really multifaceted.
Intercultural missionary, pastor, communicator.
Yes. Originally from Rio, grew up in Santa Catarina, background in communication and journalism.
And he ran his own business for a while, a T-shirt company.
For 8 years, yeah. Before answering a vocational call, studying theology, getting a master's in the U.S.
That mix of business, communication, and theology is quite unique. You can imagine the skills he picked up along the way. Leadership, connecting with people.
Definitely. And his mission work is extensive. Served in Bangladesh, visited, 11 countries?
Wow. Deep cross-cultural experience. He currently leads churches in Alabama, in the U.S.
Right. And his ministry focus is described as having a welcoming heart, dedication to youth, connecting people across cultures.
You'd think that deep experience in different cultures, especially somewhere like Bangladesh, would give him a really profound understanding of language barriers.
And the importance of bridging them, presumably. Which brings us to how these two connected.
How did that happen?
It was online, actually, while Pastor Agnes was still serving as a missionary in Bangladesh.
Okay, so distance wasn't a barrier.
Apparently not. Emanoel heard about an educational project Pastor Agnes and his wife were running for the Bengali people and was, really impressed.
So a shared interest in education and sort of community impact was the spark.
Seems like it. It wasn't just a random meeting. Emmanuel was so impressed he actually started offering free online English classes via Skype to the local people working with Pastor Agnes.
Wow. That's quite a commitment. Offering his skills like that, pro bono.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? And clearly, that initial collaboration, that act of partnership, built a foundation.
A friendship and a basis for working together on other things down the line.
Exactly. Which leads us right into the genesis of Inglés con Propósito. Where did that specific course come from?
Well, it seems it grew directly out of that experience. Emmanuel was essentially volunteering as an English teacher for Pastor Agnes.
Because Pastor Agnes himself needed English for his work in Bangladesh.
Ah, okay. So the course wasn't just dreamed up in a vacuum. It came from a real, practical need experienced by one of its creators.
Precisely. That makes it quite grounded, I think.
Absolutely. It suggests the focus would be very practical, very relevant to that context.
And interestingly, the course materials were actually recorded in Alabama, where Pastor Agnes is now. So they continued that collaboration despite the distance.
That really underscores their partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And the name, Inglés con Propósito, English with purpose, seems to nail that specific aim.
Yeah. Learning English specifically for ministry, for mission work, it's very targeted.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How did they launch it?
They did a live online event. It was called Three North American Pastors Who Impact Brazil and Why Learning English Makes All the Difference.
Catchy title. And featured both of them.
Yep, Emmanuel and Pastor Agnes. It was clearly designed to grab the attention of pastors and theologians, showing them the relevance of English.
A smart move. By discussing figures like Billy Graham, Joel Osteen, Rick Warren.
Right, pastors whose work has had an influence in Brazil.
They could immediately highlight the benefit of accessing their materials, books, sermons, resources in the original English.
Exactly. It makes the advantage very concrete, very relatable for that specific audience. Here's why you would benefit from this.
So, looking at the course itself, the target audience is clearly defined then.
Very clearly. Pastors wanting to improve their English, to, expand their ministry, go to international events, read theological resources, connect globally.
That specificity allows for a really tailored curricula addressing their unique needs.
Which seems to be what they did. The structure is 12 recorded lessons.
12. Any significance there?
Well, the materials mention it referencing the 12 apostles, which would certainly resonate with the target audience.
Okay. A nice touch. And there's mentorship, too.
Yes. Weekly online mentorship sessions, 1 hour each week.
That combination of recorded content and live interaction is usually quite effective. Flexibility plus personalization.
And the mentors. It alternates between Emmanuel and Pastor Agnes.
Oh, interesting. So you get both the language expert and someone with deep pastoral and cross-cultural context.
Exactly. That seems like a major strength. You get linguistic guidance and relevant application.
Makes perfect sense. What do the mentorship sessions cover?
The focus is on the core skills: written expression, oral expression tests, listening comprehension, reading comprehension, all vital for ministry.
Absolutely essential for communicating effectively, whether preaching, counseling, or studying.
And on completion, they get a certificate from Ceress.
Which provides that formal recognition, validates the skills they've gained. Useful for demonstrating proficiency.
The price point mentioned was $297.33, with installment options available.
Seems aimed at being accessible or reflecting the value of the course and the mentorship involved.
Yeah. And before launching, they had a warm-up phase and a skenta with like 6 pieces of content or activities.
Building buzz, getting people interested beforehand, standard but important pre-launch work.
And finally, the course content itself is laser-focused on vocabulary for preaching, leadership, missions.
So directly applicable language, not just general English, but the specific terms and phrases they'd actually use.
Right. That's a key differentiator, making the learning feel immediately relevant and likely more efficient.
So wrapping this up, what are the key takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, I think it's clear that Inglés con Propósito is really a product of that connection between Emanoel Ceress and Pastor Agnes Lucas. It wasn't just a business idea. It grew out of a real need Emmanuel saw while helping Pastor Agnes.
Yeah, that origin story is powerful. And you see how Emmanuel's vision for language learning as transformation meshes perfectly with Pastor Agnes's experience and, well, his network within the pastoral community. They combine their strengths.
They really did.
Yeah.
To create something very specific, very targeted, to empower religious leaders with practical communication skills relevant to their world.
It's a fascinating example of identifying a niche need and developing a truly tailored educational solution. It really makes you think.
About what?
Well, with everything being so globalized now, communication across borders is vital in so many fields. Could this model creating specialized language courses like English for pastors be replicated elsewhere?
You mean like English for doctors or English for software engineers, tailored to their specific professional needs?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Could that kind of targeted approach help bridge language gaps in other fields too? Foster more collaboration, more understanding internationally? It's certainly something to ponder.
It really is a thought-provoking place to end. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.